right, let's start with the Seahawks, Parker. What do you want to...
Oh, well, this is kind of bittersweet. This is hard for me. I won and lost, and so did you, Thomas, in this game. Because we had our big bet last week, and I don't think the Rams are getting to the playoffs. But I also made the proclamation that I don't think the Seahawks are winning the division. And the Seahawks made a move to not win the division, but the Rams beat them. So I don't know how to feel here.
I was hoping we'd start with this. I think we really need to get to the nitty gritty.
We gotta figure out, is it, and here's why I'm actually consoled in this, in the Rams part of me being wrong, is the Seahawks are, I told you, you guys gave me a look like, Parker, you're dumb. But I was like, we all know the Seahawks are a team of two halves. Halves of seasons, sometimes halves of games, and we are into the second half of the season, and the winds have changed in Seattle. At least it feels like it to me. Well, and if the Cardinals win on Thursday, 3 losses in a row, then that'd be a real skid you have your hands on there.
The problem is, well, usually the Seahawks start rough and finish the season strong, which I would much rather have, because you're finishing towards the playoffs in a way better spot if you can maintain the record for it. But, okay, I listened to Colin Cowherd's The Herd Hierarchy today, where he does his top 10 teams.
Cowherd doesn't know what he's talking about, but go ahead.
He doesn't. I don't agree with everything he says. I agree with a lot, but the Seahawks were not in the top 10 on his list today. And they have been every week so far this season, rightfully so. And as a diehard Seahawks fan, I did agree with Colin Cowherd on that, because they are not looking good. But there's, kind of like you said, Parker, in a different light, there's negatives and positives. Obviously, the negative is we lost a game. I guess there's not positives to losing the game, but there are positives in the future. One of the main reasons the Seahawks have been struggling the last couple weeks, especially on defense. Both games, both losses, the Bills, and then just the Rams, they're completely taking advantage of our secondary. Both of our starting cornerbacks are out. And our backup cornerbacks are not good. And teams know that. And so they're just throwing. They're just passing. They've been completely pass-dominant games. And our cornerbacks cannot cover them. And our safeties, Jamal Adams is pretty much a linebacker. He's a free safety, and he's really good at it. But his stats for a free safety look terrible this year, just because we have no pass rush. He's actually athletic and can get to the quarterback pretty quick. So he's pretty much been lining up like a linebacker, playing like a linebacker. He's put pressure on, which has been great. But even with picking up Carlos Dunlap, it's like we have a pass rush now, but it's not a good one. We're not actually getting to the quarterback. We're just getting some pressure in the pocket around him, but we're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. We're not getting enough hits on the quarterback. Obviously not enough sacks, which is why Jamal Adams is still up there kind of playing in that role, which weakens our secondary even more. Our secondary is just absolutely weak. That's why we've lost these games. You can't completely blame it on Russell and all his turnovers in the last few games, which are bad. Same thing, though, and I think we've all talked about it, when literally all the weight and pressure of a team is put on one player, it's going to wear down on them, and they're going to trip up sometimes. And we just got unlucky enough for Russell to kind of trip up, give some bad turnovers 2 games in a row. Good news, guys are getting healthier again. I mean, not to even mention the fact that our first 3 running backs are injured. So we have no running game.
I actually wanted to zero in on that, to be honest, because trying to think of what's changed, because your defense has sucked all year long. That's not changed. That's just been a fact of life.
Yeah.
What's changed is Russell Wilson, his output. But one thing that's interesting is the Seahawks this season are undefeated with Chris Carson when he's healthy at running back.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I don't quote me on this, but I think you haven't won a game when he's been injured. I think that's actually the fact, because he's been out for 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. So I think, yeah, that might be a little bit of the missed piece of the puzzle here, because when you don't have a good running game, we all know that adds even more pressure to your quarterback, which looks to me, and based on the turnovers, Russell Wilson's feeling the pressure and feeling the weight. So I want to see Chris Carson come back. I don't know if that's going to turn everything around, but I think that's actually something that's being a little bit overlooked, which could be a big factor in what's been going on.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, I just want Austin to chime in and tell us why he was so excited to talk about this.
Oh no, it was interesting. I like betting, and I like, when it gets heated, and so I was just really excited to see you guys, what your takes on that. But we have a 3-way tie in the NFC West, and a big game Thursday night, Seahawks, Arizona, which I think they're two teams that mirror each other really well, but it'll be interesting to see if Arizona sweeps. I think Arizona is the better team all around, so I could see them winning. But yeah, a lot of Seattle's problem is it's too Russ reliant, and I think the missing Chris Carson has really just let the dogs loose on the offensive line, where they're just putting pressure on him, and you can only do so much when you can throw a 4-man rush at a quarterback. There's no quarterback that is good when they're with seconds and with a 4-man rush on them. I've seen lots of quarterbacks. I've seen Brady. I've seen Rodgers fall apart when that happens. So it was a bad matchup for Seattle, and they're pretty depleted, which I think is another reason why Arizona might sweep them. They might win on Thursday. As far as the Rams go, they won, but I wasn't really impressed with their offense. But they have a good defense, and Jared Goff managed the game well enough to beat him. Right now they're the sixth seed, which they could maintain. I don't see any team in the NFC that's not already in the playoff picture making it. But I mean, that could change. Who knows? There's still 6 more games left. So, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a good opportunity to segue a little bit more to the Cardinals, because that finish against the Bills is another headline on the week, man.
Yeah.
What a play. Holy cow. I don't know much more to say about it that hasn't been said. It's everywhere. Hopkins is amazing. Kyler Murray is lighting the league up this year. They found a way to win. It was just a killer play.
Yeah, it was. And it was just, kudos to Kyler Murray for having the faith to throw it up to him. Because I can't remember what I was watching, but the play wasn't originally designed to go to DeAndre Hopkins. It was if you feel like he'll catch it, throw it to him. But the play was actually supposed to go to a tight end or something to go out of bounds and give him another shot before time expired. And Kyler Murray was just he's over there, can throw a jump ball, he can catch it. And they won the game. It was pretty amazing.
It was amazing. And so funny, because just the drive earlier, the Bills thought they had the game-winning touchdown with Stephon Diggs in the end zone.
Yeah.
I heard that if the camera watching Stephon Diggs, I didn't pick this up. I watched the game, but I didn't notice this. But apparently, reading Stephon Diggs' lips after he scored, it's like, that's why you pay me. That's why you pay me. He thought he had won the game.
He thought it was like when he won the game against the Saints in the playoffs on that walk-off touchdown. He was like, all right, I did it again. Woo!
He thought that play was amazing, but
DeAndre Hopkins is like, that's why you don't trade me.
Yeah.
Oh my
big
god!
middle finger to the Houston Texans.
Oh my gosh, man! How do you? I still can't. How do you trade away a player that's capable of that?
Yeah.
And he's not a player where that happens, and you're like, he did that. It's like, of course, DeAndre Hopkins did that. Like that's what he does.
Yeah, he's still my. Going back to our first podcast, I think we talked about it, or earlier one. I still think he's the best wide receiver in the league right now. And yeah, it's crazy how little they got back for him. And you see the Houston Texans now, they're a mess. So
the Cardinals, they got through the biggest bone this offseason. That's like getting a free number 1 pick is basically like the difference they got.
Yeah.
Like a free top 5 pick in the draft.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is honestly really, really happy. I doubt he's too bitter about the trade anymore because he's in a much better place.
Oh no, he's not bitter. He's glad he's gone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, he gets a quarterback. I mean, the only reason he could have been sad was to leave Deshaun Watson, but he gets Kyler Murray, which is like maybe, I don't want to speak too soon, but it seems to be everything Deshaun Watson is, but to 11. Like, he runs more than Deshaun Watson. He throws probably more accurately than Deshaun Watson. Escapes pressure as good as anyone in the league.
And escaping pressure and running and stuff actually are good for a receiver. That means he's scrambling out of the pocket. He's looking for more opportunity to throw. Obviously, Kyler Murray, usually if he scrambles or is out of the pocket, he's just taking it himself. But it's still good. It's giving the offense more time, more first downs, more opportunities to get catches. But, okay, I just want to bring this up. Kyler Murray's been pretty good since he came into the league. I mean, season 1 he came in, he threw a lot. He didn't run as much. Do you guys think I just feel like this year it's so different with Kyler Murray. We always thought he was pretty impressive. He has a good arm and stuff, but I don't think we've seen his overall capabilities as an extremely athletic quarterback until this season. It's just like all in our faces. And maybe it's just because the Cardinals are actually doing really good as well besides him, but we've had a Kyler Murray explosion.
I think it has a lot to do with the success of Arizona that we're noticing it more. But I also think he was with a rookie head coach, and so they're figuring it out together, and they were just kind of getting their feet wet. And now they got the missing link. Like, he has a true number 1 wide receiver, whereas last year they just had old Larry Fitz, and just a bunch of other guys. Now they've got like a true number 1, and they've had a year to figure out their system. And people, just because they flew so far under the radar, it's taking the league by more surprise than I think it really should have. It's kind of weird because Kyler Murray seems like one of the most underappreciated number 1 overall picks in the past few years. I mean, but he was sandwiched between Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow, where I feel like Joe Burrow coming out, he was like the second coming of Joe Montana, and then Baker Mayfield was just like such a controversial character. And so Kyler Murray just kind of flew under the radar, and we're just like, and we forget that he was picked number 1 overall, and they threw Josh Rosen away for him, and people are just like, yeah, cool, he might do something good. And I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I feel like Kyler Murray was one of the. Okay, I will speak broadly, not personally, based on what I'm about to say. I felt like he was the obvious first pick, but even though he was the consensus pick, it was not at all a consensus that he would be successful in the league. He was more of an experiment. Everyone was still nervous about his height and weight and size, nervous about that, but there was no denying his pass throwing abilities, his speed, his athleticism. So everyone was kind of like, well, we'll see how this goes. And whereas, Joe Burrow, Tua, some of these other quarterbacks, the reason why I said consensus, not personally, is because I think lots of people thought Baker Mayfield was a slam dunk. I've never been convinced of Baker. I've been from day one. I thought it was a stupid pick, but yeah, Kyler Murray. I think that's a little bit what you're talking about, Austin. He kind of flew under the radar. There wasn't really tank for Kyler. There was tank for Tua or tank for Trevor, sort of a thing. Right. So, but yeah, I think part of the success this year is if you watch them, like Arizona is letting him run. They're not afraid of him getting hurt, really. It seems like, because when they get to the end zone, if they're a yard or two out, Kyler Murray runs it in every single time, which is part of the reason, if any of our listeners are playing fantasy football and drafted Kenyon Drake, sorry, he's not scoring you a whole lot of points, because guess what? The Arizona Cardinals running back is Kyler Murray. And he has a lot of rushing touchdowns. He scored 2 more rushing touchdowns this past week. And he can throw the ball. So he's the real deal.
Props to the Cardinals. Not only, they picked Josh Rosen the year prior. I think they were like second or third or fourth pick, right? Maybe fifth.
Rosen fell a little bit. Was it? I think it was the early teens. I remember him.
Maybe he was like 13 or 14.
Because he came out and was like, all 11 teams that passed on me are going to regret it. Or
something like that.
But no, props to them not only to move off him right off the bat, but also to do it with Kyler Murray. Because not only were they kind of like giving up on a first-round pick they had just made, but they were also taking a risk on Kyler Murray, how small he was, height, weight, everything. But it's worked out really well for them. Did you guys see the Hail Mary pass? Kyler couldn't see over the offensive and defensive lines, so he didn't know that DeAndre Hopkins caught it until he saw the replay on the Jumbotron. But that's one thing you mentioned, Parker, is he's running a lot, and so far he hasn't been hit hard. He hasn't had any extremely sketchy looking hits. We'll see how long that lasts. I think everyone's bound to get hit hard once or twice, but so far he's had the finesse, but he's also avoided injury really well.
Yeah, when you see him run, you can tell he's not a reckless runner. He's not gonna he knows when he has a lane and he books it, but he'll also just go down if he knows it's not there. I think that's the key with
He's got that baseball
Kyler.
Slide. And he does it. I think that's the thing, though, is he's so quick. He sees that distance, he sees that open field, and he takes off and gets to where he wants to go faster than anyone can stop him. And then he's like, I made it. I got the first down. He's not trying to go for the end zone every time. He's just trying to get the yards he wants.
For sure. And what amazes me every time I see him run isn't his top speed, it's his acceleration. His get off is crazy. Like, he'll be standing there and then he's gone.
Yeah, he can eat those 10 or 12 yards so fast by the time he's gotten the yards he wanted, then he's kind of slowing down and looking like, all right, I should probably slide or go out of bounds here, else I will get hit hard, kind of thing.
It's fun to watch, man. I love watching Kyler play, throw the ball, run the ball, but yeah, I mean, I feel good about my pick of Cardinals taking the division. Like I said, I've never counted your Seahawks out of making the playoffs. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think they're about to collapse completely in the second half of the season. But I have always thought it's not going to be a continuation of their undefeated run that they were experiencing early on.
Yeah, I think the good news is a lot of players are getting healthy. We'll have most of our starters back in the next week or two. And really the only games we need to worry about in our schedule is the ones versus the Rams and the Cardinals. All the other games, if we're healthy and playing like we normally do, should be really easy. So I think we're still in the race to win the division. Not based on what we saw last week or this last weekend, but I guess it really does come down to Thursday night, though. I mean, if we lose that game, it's going to make it a lot harder.
That's a big one. Speaking of getting healthy, though, hey, guess who's back? It's Andy Dalton, the savior of Dallas.
Well, whatever. What's his name? I can't even. Garrett? Whatever his name was. I don't even remember. Guy, he looked better than Andy Dalton ever played against the Steelers.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So I'm like, Andy Dalton, I don't even care. Just put someone back there. It's all gonna fall apart anyway. It doesn't matter. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the bye week. How the Cowboys change. I really don't know what the plan is, and I know it's like, all right, we're just gonna try our best, and which is what you should do. I just don't know if their best is enough. I think they might be able to beat the Eagles, and maybe the Washington football team left. But other than that, I don't think I think they'll get swept by the Giants. But no, we beat them already. They'll probably lose to the Giants. The Giants are actually looking pretty good. But yeah, for me, it's like whatever. I'm sure Dak will come back, and they'll probably. I'm thinking right now, if they stay with their draft position, they'll probably draft the tackle from Oregon, which would be pretty cool. Rebuild that offensive line, because that's really, I don't know. There's just too many pieces on the defense. I think it's more defensive coordinator problem with the defense rather than personnel. So if bolster up that O-line, Cowboys should look pretty good. Bet with Dak back, but we'll see what happens with the coaching staff. That's my main problem right now. With that.
Yeah, we talked about it. McCarthy's not it.
No, but speaking of the NFC East, watching Daniel Jones, I honestly think that they might stick with him for a while.
He's improved a lot over the last few games.
Yeah,
because we played that game, I think not last week, but the week before, and we were pretty sure, he might not even last this season. But I don't know. I think they might stick with them, depending on what teams do before them in the draft about who they draft. They might keep going and rolling with Daniel Jones. He's an interesting specimen because he's more mobile than you'd expect. He has the most yards per carry for any quarterback I saw. I don't know if that changed this week, but last week he had more yards per carry than any other quarterback. So more than Kyler Murray, more than Lamar.
I mean, that's based off 2 or 3 runs, but
still.
Hey,
but
he takes it.
When he has the opportunity, he'll take the opportunity and get those big yards. And I don't know. I mean, he just beat another NFC East team, so it's not that impressive. But I don't know. I think they might stick around with him for a while and maybe address other needs. And then once they have everything in place and Daniel Jones still, they feel like he's reached his ceiling, they'll probably move off of him. But I'd give him another couple of years, I think, in New York, honestly.
I mean, yeah, he has looked good, and if I'm gonna be fair, he doesn't have a lot to work with in New York. They're out Saquon. They shipped Odell, just in the offseason before they drafted Daniel Jones? Or did they have a season together?
I don't think
hard.
Daniel Jones never threw a pass to Odell.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I guess to kind of put into context when you think of Daniel Jones. But yeah, he's looked good. The Giants and Daniel Jones, they played well against the Buccaneers and made that a game.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was about that week that things have kind of started looking a little bit different for them. They're playing with a lot more confidence, it feels like. And they're in a 2-win streak. So
yeah, they could. We counted them out. They could still win the division. I think the Eagles are still ahead of them, even though they lost that game. But they could still win the division.
this division is still wide open, man. It's wide open.
You know what needs to happen is Daniel Jones needs to enter the playoffs, like 5-11, and then go on a run and beat like the undefeated Steelers or something, old Ben Roethlisberger, and then like pull a Eli Manning or something.
He's got to beat the Buccaneers in the conference championship.
Yeah, he's got to beat Tom Brady in the conference championship, and then like if the Steelers go undefeated or something, or the Chiefs, if they're like whoever, got to beat, like that'd be so funny.
That would be.
That'd crack me up.
Speaking of the Steelers, they've had their bye. Yeah, so they're 9-0. What do you think the chances are that the Steelers actually finish undefeated?
Let's pull up their schedule here.
Yeah, let me see the schedule. Let me pull that up.
They'll beat the Jaguars.
I think it'll be pretty close.
I think they'll beat the Ravens again. They'll beat Washington football team. Really? I mean, the Bills are probably going to be week 14 their hardest matchup.
I could see them losing to the Browns in week 17. I could definitely see that.
If they've locked up the first number 1 seed, then probably. And that might even let the Browns into the playoffs if that happens.
Well, that's the thing. If it's to let the Browns in the playoffs, the Steelers might put their starters out there just to keep them out. I mean, we could maybe take a quick tangent. I've never been for sitting your players at the end of the season. From an actual success point, not any sort of integrity of the game crap. I don't think it's good for your team to sit your starters before you're about to go into the playoffs, even if you've locked up that spot.
Well, yeah, taking 2 weeks off and getting out of the rhythm does. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea either. I've seen it ruin teams that haven't locked in. But I agree. I agree with that.
I would even be more okay with letting your starters play a half of football, and if you're winning, or even if you're not, I would be more okay with sitting them in the second half. It's just getting cold, like you said, 2 weeks off. That's a long time in the football world, and I've seen it seemingly bite enough teams in the butt. But yeah, that's just a quick tangent on that. It would be interesting to see the Steelers go undefeated. That's something we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Yeah. It could happen, but they also play down to their competition. And the Bengals game was they were really focused and wanted to prove that doesn't happen. But they've let bad teams hang around all season.
You know that, don't you, Austin?
Yeah.
A week 9 matchup was way too close with those Dallas Cowboys.
We have no business being in a position to win the game in the final 2 minutes. No business. What was that? And that's why I'm I don't even care if Andy Dalton plays. Some quarterback the Browns just cut or at the beginning of the season, it was lighting them up somehow. So it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But,
I think the big thing about if you're 16-0 and it's week 17 and you're the Steelers, I feel like just for the sake of going undefeated regular season, you try and do it, right? You start your starters.
I think so.
This game's all about competition and legacy. I mean, that's all these guys care about. And why would you not want to be the first team that went undefeated in the regular season in how many years?
Since the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think there was a team. I can't remember who it was. It might have been the Steelers or it might have been the Colts. This is like 10 plus years ago. They lost on purpose on week 17, just so that the pressure of going undefeated would be off them in the playoffs. And I thought that was interesting, but at the same time, I don't really agree with it. I liked how they were just like the Patriots were ambitious, and they're like, we don't even care. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it all and be the best team ever. And we all know how that ended, but but I respect the goal.
Yeah.
I think the one and only team to ever go fully undefeated and win the Super Bowl is the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones. And more recent history, I feel like the last team that was a real shot to go undefeated were the Panthers in 2015. I think they got to 14 or 15-0 and lost one in the last couple of weeks. But don't quote me on that. All I know is they lost in the Super Bowl.
I remember it was the Panthers and someone else. Both teams went undefeated for so long. It might have been the Panthers and the Patriots. But then the Panthers just kept going. That's when their defense was spectacular.
Well, that was Superman Cam Newton year.
Yeah, man.
How far has he fallen in the Patriots? But they got a win this week, didn't they?
Yeah, they've won their last two.
In a monsoon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy weather.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy weather. Same with the Browns game with the Texans.
Yeah. There was something going on, like, in the Northeast. But I like how people are, like, saying, like, you know, that favors the Patriots, that weather. But I'm like, aren't the Baltimore Ravens a running team, too? Like, shouldn't it have just been a wash because neither one of them are very good at passing? So... I'm like, I don't know if that's really an excuse for the Ravens to have lost. I mean, but...
That's the thing, though. I don't think 30, 40-mile-an-hour gusts of wind favor anybody. Like, nobody's used to playing in that.
Yeah.
Don't try and tell me someone's like, oh, yeah.
That's what I play my best.
That's what we like.
I play my best football.
I love hurricanes are where I really shine.
Hey, at least half the game, the kicker can get some friggin' far field goals if they get lucky.
You know who does play their best football in hurricanes probably is Tim Tebow, because the wind would blow his ball accurate back to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, man. We got a real quick too, and a team we've touched on every week because they deserve talking about is the Dolphins.
Hey,
the Dolphins and Tua.
Hey guys, remember how I was excited to see Tua and you're like, Look,
Hey,
I don't think they've fully unleashed the reins of Tua either. I think he's got more in him.
for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
Tua played really well, but I wouldn't. It was a full team win.
Oh yeah.
Like their first touchdown was off a blocked punt, and they got the ball at like the 1 yard line or something, and so I mean the Dolphins are just a really solid team, and Tua was probably the luckiest of the three big quarterbacks where he landed.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers.
Which you would not have thought going into the season.
I know.
Yeah,
He couldn't even walk.
because last year everyone thought they were going to be like one of the worst teams ever, and then they I don't know, they just got rid of all their guys, and now everyone bought in, and they started working really hard at the end of last season. They just picked up where they left off. And, they're crazy well coached. The defense is crazy good. Special teams is crazy good. And all they need Tua to do is, not mess up, which is what Ryan Fitzpatrick would do. He was an interception thrower and would make untimely throws. Now all Tua does is just not turn the ball over.
Hey, I just want to say, I was so right on Tua because I remember talking to you guys, and I was like, the big difference between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua is he's not going to turn the ball over. And granted, I mean, he's not throwing as much as Ryan Fitzpatrick was. I think he only had 15 completions this last game. But kind of like you said, Austin, that's all they need. They've got a good game plan. They're executing it well, and it's pretty simple. Good defense, good special teams, offense, just score a couple touchdowns, maintain the clock.
Yeah, you definitely were right on this. I remember saying that I thought it was going to be a little rough. I didn't count on, like Austin was saying, the rest of the team to be this solid and put them in as good of situations as they've been in. Because, their defense is really, really good. Like, top of the league in that conversation good. I mean,
well, they've won their last 6 games, and not all of those games have been easy.
No.
Yeah, they beat Tua beat the Rams in his first start, the Cardinals in his first start, and the Chargers, just like to lose games. But, he has a winning record. He's 2-0 against winning teams right now, which is crazy. Rookie heading in there. But, yeah.
I think the most impressive thing about Tua is, watching his highlights and the replays of his games, and obviously I've watched a couple of them. I didn't get to watch the game this last week. But he's playing at a high skill level. He's making passes and completing passes, on the run, and his accuracy is there. He's just, for being his 3rd game in the NFL, he's playing at the skill level of some of the greats. I mean, he's making correct decisions, and he's completing some amazing passes in difficult situations. I'm not saying he's going to be a great or anything, but from what we've seen, it's pretty impressive.
I just realized I'm stupid. Why did I bet on Tua doing anything besides this after I saw the NCAA championship? Tua knows exactly what to do when he's thrown right into it, like when he went in halftime and won that game for Alabama.
Yeah, that's true.
But they get an easy one this week, man. They're gonna beat up my Broncos this week. I am not looking forward to it.
How'd that game go, or how'd you feel about that?
It was awful.
The Raiders imposed their will on you.
Absolutely. They ran the ball down our throats. They had their way with us, to be honest. But it's fair. The Broncos suck. They suck really bad. And we need a new quarterback. We need a new GM. And, we need to get healthy. If those 3 things happen, I don't mind our coaching staff. They sometimes show Coach Fangio shows his inexperience as a head coach. He's a first-time head coach in this league. But, we don't even need to talk about the Broncos that long because they just suck. That's all there is to it.
Well, one thing. So you're done with Elway?
Yeah. No, I am done with Elway. I don't know if I've ever said that on this podcast.
Yeah.
So this might be a podcast first admission, but I have been done with Elway for a while now. It's just you just can't strike out on quarterback that many times. And I've said it enough times, it pisses me off because it always feels like John Elway is trying to find the sneaky quarterback. Like, everyone's so obsessed with Kyler Murray and all these other guys. Like, I'm going to get the guy no one's talking about because I was a great quarterback, so I know what a great quarterback is. Drew Lock. No, Drew Lock's not it. He's not going to be it. And,
okay, wait. Before you go any further, I agree with you, Parker. once again, I just want to reinstate. I think Drew Lock really needs to stop dancing because it's just making him look worse. Um,
I don't give a frick about the dancing, man. I couldn't care less. He can dance all he wants if he can throw the ball worth anything.
dude, he is dancing his way out of that team pretty soon if he keeps.
I don't know. I haven't
He's
seen him
playing his way out
dancing
of the
lately. I think you just keep watching the same dancing highlight on repeat because
Maybe.
there's been nothing to dance about for a good while now.
But I remember when they drafted Drew Lock, and I remember you telling me before the draft, you were like, "Oh, man, I really hope they draft this guy named Drew Lock. Like,
Yeah.
I think he could be great." And they picked it was late. Was it second round?
Second round, yeah. They had the chance to take him first round. Granted, they didn't, and they took him second round. And I was excited because I knew that was the best John Elway would ever shoot for is freaking Drew Lock in the second round because he's not going to make the big moves. He's not going to get the big free agent. I don't know what it's going to take. We're not in a great position to draft anyone this year, but to me, it's becoming painfully obvious Drew Lock's not the future. I don't know if it's obvious to the management and coaching staff in Denver, but to me, and I think a lot of the fan base, it's pretty glaring. It's like I've been saying, you don't go from being meh to being great. It just doesn't happen. If you're great, then you show your greatness early on. Not saying you play amazing every time, but you can see greatness. And Drew Lock doesn't have it.
Yeah, I can say that about. I mean, it's evident when you watch Burrow and Herbert. Like, even though they're losing, people don't doubt that they're good quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Whereas when the Broncos are losing, you're like, no, he sucks.
Yeah.
But like you can see, like, okay, we can see the talent. Obviously, it's got to be something else with when it comes to Burrow and Herbert. But yeah, I can see your point. The Broncos need a lot of things have a lot of things to figure out. Not unlike my Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah, well, looks like your Cowboys, I mean, if things go as they are, at least you guys are looking at a pretty nice draft pick. We just steal. I mean, I guess we only have one more win than your team since we're on a 2-loss streak, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in the draft. There's so many better teams in our division. I mean, not even to speak the name of the Chiefs, who are so far beyond our comprehension at this point. The Raiders just proved how much better they are than us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to be in the AFC West, to be at the bottom of the AFC West right now. Because, the Chargers have a lot of upside because they figured out the quarterback, and now they just and they have a lot of good players. So for me, the problem with the Chargers is Anthony Lynn. I think they got to go and get somebody that can a good play caller. And then that's 3 dangerous teams in the AFC West. The West is fun. West is good for football right now because the NFC West is really good. I mean, they're not spectacular. But, I mean, they got 3 exciting teams in it. And then if the 49ers were healthy, they'd be good too. And then the AFC West, obviously. Transitioning, because I've had this thought now when we were talking about the Dolphins. Have we changed our because I think we're all down on the teams we really originally picked, except for the Raiders. But is there like a new like dark horse team that you think could sneak into the Super Bowl this year? Like, because I'm thinking it could be the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins have a good enough defense, and I think Tua could win a shootout with Kansas City if they really needed him to, especially if the defense is playing well against Kansas City. I think they could even sneak in and make a bid for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't even know if there are any other teams up for debate. I think if there's a new sneaker, it's definitely the Dolphins. And same thing. I definitely think they could play an extremely competitive game where it comes down to the final minutes. For Tua, when your defense is playing so well, it takes so much pressure off a young new quarterback. Same thing. If he just makes his few passes, they can completely stay in it. I think the Dolphins have definitely gone way higher on my power rankings in the last couple of weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kept climbing. And I think that'd be really. I mean, obviously, I want the Seahawks to win everything, but if they don't, I think it would be awesome to see the Dolphins go as far as possible.
Yeah, the Dolphins are the only one that's standing out to me that wasn't on our radar before to actually have a chance in the Super Bowl. But I am rising on the playoff potential of the Vikings after their win last night. A 3-win streak. The fact of the matter is, Dalvin Cook cannot be stopped. I think last night was as close to containing him as a team can get, and he still went for over 100 scrimmage yards in that game.
Yeah.
So, and Kirk Cousins, that was the first Monday Night Football game he's ever won in his entire career.
Did you see how freaking pumped he was when they got that final first down?
Yeah, he's tired of getting memed on.
Yeah. You can tell that's why he was excited. He didn't care about anything but the fact he's like, people aren't going to be able to pick on me anymore.
Yeah,
still 1-9 on Monday Night Football, but but that is exciting.
I think that for me, the reason why I'm not going to say the Vikings, even though I think they can get in the playoffs, the reason why I definitely don't see them going far if they do is just their defense isn't good enough, in my opinion, and their offense isn't good enough to overcompensate. Because if the Vikings get like 2 or 3 scores down, they're in a really tough position asking Kirk Cousins to go win the game, which lots of the other teams that you look at to be a Super Bowl contender have that potential. It's hard for me to envision that for them.
Well, I think they have one way to win. It's Cook. I mean, if Cook isn't cooking, they're probably not going to win.
Yeah, they could be a disruptor, kind of like the Titans were last year. But yeah, I don't think they'd even make it as far as the Titans did. But there is one advantage if they did sneak into the playoffs, is that most NFC teams' run defenses aren't very good. Like the Seahawks' run defense isn't that great. Packers' run defense isn't very good.
Buccaneers would be tough.
Buccaneers would be tougher for sure. That'd be a tough out. Saints has got a pretty good defense, but that's always a good playoff game anyway. Saints Vikings, that's becoming a classic. And then whoever they play in the NFC, if they have to play an NFC East team, it's whatever. And then the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a good defense, but I mean,
it's not elite.
It's not amazing. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of teams they could beat in the NFC in the playoffs. It was just the NFC South would be the toughest team to play.
Yeah,
but
I think it'd be a spoiler if anything.
Yeah, I think I realistically don't see the Vikings making it to the playoffs though. The only way they could is off a wild card. I don't think they're going to beat the Packers in their division, but I also don't think they'll do better than the Cardinals, Rams, or Seahawks. I mean, whoever wins that division, sure, but there's 2 contenders in that division for the wild card that I think are better teams. Same thing, anything could happen, but if the Vikings made it into the playoffs, it's a different story, but it's a pretty high uphill battle for them to do that at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll even make it, but I mean, a team would have to spiral pretty hard down because, the bottom wild card team is still 6-3 because the Seahawks are the 7th seed right now.
Yep.
And so
they're not far off that, but I think the Seahawks.
No, I mean the Seahawks would have to spiral, or one of the NFC West teams, or maybe the Buccaneers like completely disintegrate or something for them to be able to make it. But like a team would have to just like
the Rams,
completely fall apart. I don't know, man. Yeah,
Here's one thing though, Parker, to give credit to you on the Rams Seahawks game this week. You're still right. Jared Goff isn't that good of a quarterback. I still think he's
not.
He's good, but they haven't won a single game this season because of Jared Goff. And I think this weekend showed even more, where they pretty much dominated a game or had complete control of a game. Jared Goff was still just doing very mediocre.
The Rams are the Vikings in disguise as the Rams from 2 years ago. They're actually they're a tough defense that relies on the run game. Yeah. The only difference is they don't have a bell cow running back. They have a trio of running backs in Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, whoever that third one is. I can't keep track of all the LA running backs. But anyway, yeah, I mean the Rams. I'll give them this. They do have a solid defense that really showed up against the Seahawks. I mean, they couldn't get much done. And again, we've talked so much about the Seahawks and that, but talking about the Rams here, yeah, Jared Goff is not gonna. Same thing. Like in my opinion, if the Rams get down big time, I think they're another team that struggles to come back from that, because I don't have faith in Jared Goff to come back in a game like I would if I had Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, some of these other powerhouse teams in that conference. So,
yeah. Another thing about their defense is Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
I've always thought he was good, but this weekend he proved he's probably the best cornerback in the league, because he completely shut down DK Metcalf. No one has been able to do it all season. DK was pissed, and I was pissed. And honestly, I think if DK was as productive as he usually is, I think the Seahawks still would have pulled through on that game. But DK might as well not have been on the field, and that was huge. So the fact that they have a great front seven, but as well as a cornerback that can pretty much shut down any receiver, that's scary, man.
Well, in other news, what does the Drew Brees injury mean for the Saints going forward?
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
All right. Are you going to talk about it?
Sure. No, I'm waiting for you guys. I was about to leave and turn the heat down.
No, I thought Tom was going to start saying something.
Well, let me ask you, Austin. Do you think Jameis Winston is going to be able to fill those shoes? And do you think... I kind of see it going two ways. Either not too much changes, and they still make it to the playoffs, they still win the games they should, or the team falls apart because Jameis Winston does not play like Drew Brees.
I don't think the team falls apart. They went 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater last year, and I think that Jameis Winston and Bruce Arians was not a good combination, even though like Jameis Winston was the type of quarterback, prototypical quarterback that Bruce Arians likes. His tendency, even at Florida State in college, was he was pretty reckless, and he was like too reckless for Bruce Arians' offense. I think Sean Payton's offense can rein him in a little bit, and the advantage now that Jameis Winston gives the Saints is he can stretch the field, and he can throw the deep ball, and I think if anything, the offense might even look a little bit better.
It's possible.
Okay, so you're saying Jameis Winston's going to take Drew Brees' job?
I mean, I think Drew Brees might be ready to give it up at the end of the season anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, man, in your 40s and you get a broken rib and, collapsed lung, that's
I heard it was hard. Like 5 broken ribs. It was
multiple. And what's weird is he stayed on the sidelines for quite a while, and I'm like, you have a collapsed lung and you're just chilling, want to watch the rest of the game.
Players have played through it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, like a 40-something-year-old quarterback playing through it. I'm pretty impressive. But hey, don't forget, Jameis Winston got eye surgery this offseason. I'm not convinced he wasn't playing last season completely blind. Like, it would explain a lot.
Yeah. I don't think Jameis Winston, personality-wise, is a franchise quarterback, but he has the skill set to be. And I've even when the Saints blew out the Buccaneers, and he hardly played, but he was still eating his W fingers or whatever, and I was like, come on, Jameis. I mean, I'd be happy too if I was a backup quarterback and won, but I mean, I don't know, it's like tone it down just a little bit, man. But I think though that he has a skill set, and the Saints are just a good team. I'm not going to say they can put anybody back there, but they can put a Teddy Bridgewater or a Jameis Winston back there and get the same production that they were getting with Drew Brees. And as much as I hate to say it, and as respected as he is as a quarterback, I've never been the biggest Drew Brees fan, so that's maybe why where it's coming from. But it's already been proven, it's been seen that they can go on without him already. So that's my take.
I think you're right. There's so many offensive pieces in New Orleans, including Kamara, Michael Thomas, as the standouts there, that I think, and with a coach like Sean Payton, more or less you can put a lot of people back there and find success. I just want to see how Jameis Winston's instincts and tendencies, if he can get those, in the system that Sean Payton wants, because he has, like you said, it's not just decision making, it's his impulse to just chuck it recklessly, and that's not something I can see flying very good with Sean Payton.
Yeah, if the turnovers go up, and that could be the thing that derails the Saints and may even lose the division. If they're starting to get a turnover or two a game more than they were, Jameis Winston throws the 90, at least one every game, then we might even, and it costs them the game, then we might see Taysom Hill. But the interceptions would have to be detrimental to the W. If he's throwing an interception in a game but they're still winning, he's going to play. But if he's throwing them at ill time and it's happening too much, then they got to save the season, because they're in a spot to where they could win the NFC still. But I don't see that happening. I see Jameis finishing out the season.
Yeah, I would agree. So you think even if Drew Brees is healthy, ready to go by week 16 or 17, and they're in the hunt, they're still trying to get their way in, do you think they'll switch back?
Yeah, in that situation, I think they would switch back, actually, as a legacy thing, as a respect to Drew Brees, and if they don't make it, if Drew Brees comes back and they don't make it to the Super Bowl, then I think Drew Brees will retire.
I think
if they don't,
I think he might retire even if they want it.
If they want it, he would definitely retire. But this might just be his last season, no matter what. The situation where I see him not retiring is if they make it to the Super Bowl and lose. But if they win the Super Bowl, or if they don't get there, then I think he retires.
I see. Yeah. I can see that. Just the logic. Well, I think if Drew Brees, he's got to realize, hey man, we may not have won the Super Bowl, but we got there, and I was a big part of that. I can obviously, I'm not washed up yet, kind of thing. Same thing with Tom Brady. I think that's what he keeps doing is, he's like, look, my team still did good, so I'm not washed up yet,
Right.
And I think to some degree, those two also kind of keep each other in the league. There's lots of record chasing between the two.
For sure.
So we'll see, man.
Yeah, I never thought I'd. It's cool that Brady got to be a rival with Peyton and with Brees. At one point, three of the greats. I still would rank it Brady, Peyton, Brees in that order. But it's cool that we're seeing two awesome quarterbacks play and compete, and just it's cool to be a part of history in that way.
It is. Yeah, I mean, once those two are gone, I feel like that's almost shutting the door on a whole generation of quarterbacks, to be honest. Though they're kind of the last two.
Who do you think would be like the next big rivalry, quarterback rivalry, if they were to retire? Now the league's thirsty for propping up another quarterback rivalry.
It could be Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, honestly. That's definitely one that stands out to me because
I think they're just compared so much.
Yeah, and play each other twice a year in the same division. It just is built to be, because they already have a rivalry with the teams. Plug those two against each other every year, and there you go. But besides that, I mean, it's hard to say because lots of the other great quarterbacks, I mean, who is Patrick Mahomes competing against in his conference? I mean, yeah, last year it's Lamar Jackson, but this year that's not even a thing. He really kind of stands apart there. We've yet to see someone consistently year in, year out challenge him in the AFC.
Well, I think I think that's why they're going to be the next NFL dynasty. I think there's a lot that goes into a dynasty, but kind of like the Patriots, they're set up in the perfect position where in their division there isn't any outstanding competition, and even in their conference, in the coming years, the outlook is highly in favor of the Chiefs. And then just the team and the build and the coaching and the culture they have. I think they're set up a lot like the Patriots were to win and continue winning for a long time.
For sure. I mean, I think there's potential for some good rivalries in the AFC. It's just too early to tell what it'll be. Maybe the Bills are legit and year in, year out they're competing. Maybe Tua and the Dolphins, Lamar Jackson comes back, Joe Burrow. There's lots of potential, but there's no one right now that feels set up in that role.
One thing I think is interesting is I've been a following fan of the NFL for 12 years now. Since I was 15 is when I really started paying more attention to football and watching more Seahawks games and stuff like that. I think that's when we started talking about football all the time in our group of friends. But it's kind of been the same teams have been great, give or take a few over those years. Obviously, the Patriots were the dynasty that whole time. The same teams struggled. But I think last year and now this year too, we're really starting to see some change in the league. And new teams, bad teams are getting good teams are getting bad. Lots of things are happening. And a lot of it's just people are retiring, young guys are coming in. But it's fun to be an NFL fan at this point after having been an NFL fan, because we're really seeing the league morph. Not so much in a different direction. In some ways, a different direction. Quarterback play is different. Offensive and defensive play is changing constantly. But you know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah. I know what you mean, and I feel that as well, Thomas. It is changing. And I never thought I would miss the old dynasty. Can we have the Patriots dynasty back, guys?
No.
Get rid...
You're only saying that because the freaking Chiefs are in your division.
Yeah, bro. Do you want to be the Jets during the Patriots dynasty? Is that who you want to be? No. No one. That's the worst possible place to be, and that's exactly where we are.
Maybe
exactly where we are.
You should just become a bandwagon fan of the Dolphins. If there's any time to switch and become a Dolphins fan, it's probably now. You're early enough to where you won't get criticized too much.
you'll understand, man. It's like my team sucks, and it's like, what if we got better? We still wouldn't win. Like, maybe I will.
That's a tough thing.
If I were to bandwagon switch right now, I would bandwagon to the Cardinals. They're if I how in the NBA there's lots of people are just fans of players. They'll switch teams when LeBron switches teams or KD. I would have been that way for DeAndre Hopkins because I liked watching the Texans when DeAndre was there, and I love watching him with the Cardinals. So that would be I'm not going to switch because I'm loyal. I'll suck it up with the Broncos for how old's Patrick Mahomes? What, like 23? Like what? We got like 17 more years maybe. I'll suck it up. I'll hate my life, but
well, it's not a dynasty yet, but there's all it takes is like a good that's the key without the Patriots. They're always consistent, so they're always there, but all it takes is like one good team to rise every year to stop them.
Which can happen, and that's part of a dynasty, though. My Broncos were that for the Patriots on a number of occasions. So sure. I expect that to be the case, but what makes a dynasty is they're always the team that the other team has to get past.
Yeah.
When you have, I think it's just the fact that there's Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes. That's you take away Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, everything else, and you're left with those two, and it feels like that's what you build a dynasty out of.
They could still compete. Yeah, I'd agree. I think this is the quarterback Andy Reid's always needed. He's made subpar quarterbacks look really good, and finally he got like the real talent that he's always needed for his offense. And we're seeing it unfold right before our very eyes. And going back to Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff, like it's so necessary now to have a transcendent talented quarterback. Like you can't be deficient at quarterback and win in this league. You can be deficient in other areas. I mean, it's still important to have a great defense, and that's why I like the Dolphins a lot, is because I think the way they're playing right now, the way their defense is playing, they could be one of those historic defenses if they keep playing like the way they are. But it's still, to be a consistent contender, you can't be average at quarterback. Like the quarterbacks are just too talented now to be able to keep up with them. There's just too much scoring. And but yeah, I think that's what sets Patrick Mahomes apart right now, and there's no rival, is just because there isn't anybody his age that has that talent. And it's kind of the same with Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers is like the only one in his age range that has his talent. So I think that kind of hurt his brand actually a little bit, is that he didn't really have like you couldn't really compare him to Brady because Brady was so much older than him. And they just played in a different conference. So I think if someone could come up and like rise up with Patrick Mahomes, I think that would just elevate the already big brand that Mahomes has built for himself already, if that makes any sense.
It does, actually. And we'll see. Like I said, we threw a lot of names out there. Maybe Josh Allen. This isn't, a 1 year thing.
Yeah.
Which Josh Allen has looked a lot better in recent weeks too. He started really hot, had a bit of a downward, but he's picked it back up again, and he put his team in every position to win the game against the Cardinals before it was stolen.
Yeah.
I've never been a big Josh Allen fan, and just sitting here thinking about it as you guys are talking about this stuff, I think the reason I don't like Josh Allen is because I don't like Buffalo, New York. because the one time we went there when we were all in Cleveland that summer selling pest control, it is like a ghost town.
Yeah,
It's just
like
so weird.
we gotta describe this to anyone listening. Like it was creepy. We were in Buffalo, New York, a big city.
Yep.
At what? What was
It was Saturday night.
It was Saturday night. It was like 9
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yep.
And there was no people, no cars. There was nothing
This
in
is
the
way
middle of
before
the
COVID,
city.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And everyone's like, "Oh, so what? Like that's just
And-
life now." No, this is 2016.
And
Everyone,
everyone's gonna say, "Well, yeah, it's so cold there." This is like July
No.
in the
it's the
summer,
middle of the summer, dude.
Remember
What
we
was
had
going
to, like-
on, man?
and we had to. We were looking for a restaurant to eat at. There were no restaurants,
We
And
found like
finally
this
we found
obscure
this,
pizza
like-
place.
and that pizza place was so dang good.
It was good.
It was hidden. Remember, it was like down an alley, through a random
Oh,
door,
yeah.
down
We
a
had to,
hallway. You're in
Yeah,
a
we
pizza
ate
restaurant.
outside and like you couldn't really see anything because we were just surrounded by buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
No,
Buffalo.
I've walked through Buffalo, New York on a Saturday night in the middle of summer for hours and only seen maybe 9 people from Buffalo.
That was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. And
So-
maybe if anyone from Buffalo is listening to this, and like, is that what life is like in your city? Like, or was something going on? That
Does
was
Buffalo
weird.
have a purge and we just happen to be there that
Dude. Yeah, all these. We walk in the pizza place. We're like, do you guys know what day it is today?
night?
Like, we really need the business, so we're still open. But you all are crazy.
Yeah.
But because of that, I've always just assumed nothing's going on in Buffalo. And I think it really did change my viewpoint of the Bills. Nothing's going on with the Bills. So I don't know. For me, Josh Allen has a high hill to climb before I'm at all impressed.
I just love Bills fans, though. To me,
Oh, yeah.
they're one of the craziest, in the best way, fan bases in the league. Because you have other, like, really crazy fan bases like the Raiders, maybe like the Eagles. They're, like, known for being rowdy, and kind of rough. The Bills are kind of that, but in a different way, with the table smashing and they seem like they're really united in their love of the Bills, and I can respect it because they lived through the Patriots dynasty. They're coming out of that now, and finally the division is up for grabs. So that experience was weird, but I don't hold it against the Buffalo Bills or Josh Allen.
You can't disrespect the Bills fan base. So they've seen some hard times. But I'll still remember it was a couple years ago, Parker, you telling me that I should become a Bills fan. And I think about that sometimes. I'm like, I could never. Even though I do like the fan base, but I couldn't switch. To me, I just love my Cowboys just too much. Because even this year, I'm like, maybe I should jump ship. It's just too painful. But I'm like, I saw them play against the Steelers, and it wasn't that they were competing with them. It was just looking at the beautiful silver helmet and the star and their uniforms, and I'm just like, no, this is my team. Like, there's nothing that brings me more joy than seeing the Dallas Cowboys star on their
such a
silver helmet.
Cowboys fan. Oh my
shining,
god.
shining on the,
Gross, dude.
No, Austin brings up a good point, though. Going back to the Bills, that's another thing. The Bills to me are boring. Their jerseys. The Falcons have like a whiteout jersey. The Cowboys have white jerseys, but to me, when I look at a Bills, their Bills white jerseys, it looks so boring. Like the Miami Heat did their whiteout jerseys; those were freaking awesome. The Bills, I'm like, it's the Bills. It's white. It's boring. There's nothing there. Kind of like the city.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will. You know what I loved, though, about the Bills fan base? Last thing I'll say about them is, was it 2 years ago when the Bills were competing for the wild card spot and the Bengals beat, I'm not going to remember who they beat, but the win got the Bills into the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah, the Bills fans, like, en masse, like, donated to Andy Dalton's charity. And, like,
Yes.
I don't remember the amount, but it was a staggering, like, I think it was millions of dollars that the city of Buffalo donated to this charity. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, they're passionate and united, and they do stuff like that.
They just did that last week, too, because Josh Allen's grandmother died the night before their game. And
that's
Bills
right.
fans donated a ton of money to that hospital's charity as well. The Bills, how are people rich there? They don't even do anything.
They don't even exist.
Yeah,
like what people? We didn't see any.
I don't know. But no, Bills fans are awesome. No disrespect to them at all. I'm not sorry for the Cowboys beating them twice in a row in the Super Bowl, and that's partly why I can't switch. But they're awesome people, and you know they're better than their fan base is better than all of the NFC East fan bases combined in character. I
In character, I like that. In character.
See, everyone likes the Bills.
Yeah,
everyone hates the Cowboys fans, and you can't help but be disgusted by the Eagles fans. Even if you hate the Cowboys, you're like, but you guys are gross too, though.
Dude, do you remember when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and that clip came out of some guy running in a subway? Like, super excited the Eagles won, and then he just runs straight into the terminal block.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That sums up Eagles fans for me. Like, that's Eagles fans.
They're degenerates, man. They really are.
No, and I'll be the first to admit, NFC East fan base is obnoxious, and that includes Washington and New York, but it's still that's what makes it fun. Whereas the Bills, everyone loves them because they've sucked for so long. Like, like they're not competitive to your team. They're like, oh, those poor Bills haven't been in the playoffs since 1999 up until 2018. Lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. Haven't been good in so long. They're those poor Bills up in Buffalo. They have to live in Buffalo.
Not even allowed to walk around at night.
Every time I hear that, 4 Super Bowls lost in a row, you're like, I can't. Every time I've known it for so long, but how can that be real? How can you live through that? Oh, you poor Bills.
Yeah. So no wonder everyone loves them because you just feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they'll win it, but it's looking more optimistic than the Cowboys right now. But
That's for sure.
But I can't just like go from being the most hated fan base to the most loved fan base. I'd be disoriented. I wouldn't know what to do.
I know. You guys feed off of it.
All right, to turn in another direction, I want to know, looking at this coming week's schedule, if you pull up week 11, I want to know what your guys' like games to watch, or like the pivotal games of this coming week are, and why. And while you're looking at it, I'll start. I think one of the more pivotal games that's going to happen this week is Rams-Buccaneers. I think, so they're obviously both, at this point, wild cards in the NFC. Rams are coming off a pretty big win, especially division-wise. Buccaneers are just coming off a huge win. But this game is important for both of them because winner or loser has a chance of falling out of the wild card seed or the wild card spot, at least temporarily. But I think the big matchup is going to be Tom Brady and the Bucs offense. versus the Rams defense. The Rams, I think, are number one overall defense right now, and we know why. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, just their ability to stop the run, as well as their secondary can stop the pass. I think of all teams, of all games the Bucs have for the rest of the season, this might be the one where I can see Tom Brady potentially, having a repeat just terrible game. Where on the flip side, obviously the Bucs defense is really good, and I think that's what it comes down to too. If the Bucs defense steamrolls the Rams offense, it doesn't matter how well the Rams defense does. It doesn't matter how much pressure Aaron Donald gets on Tom Brady. The Bucs win. But I just think that's a big game to watch. I think it'll be pretty low scoring, just because we're talking about two of the best defenses in the league. But I think there's a lot of potential for Tom Brady to get pretty frustrated and see some more cussing and banging of helmets on the sideline.
You gotta love it. There's a couple, but the one I'm going to go with is same division, Falcons Saints. The Jameis Winston is coming out, seeing what that's going to look like. I think it's going to kind of set the trajectory for where this division's going to go. If Jameis Winston comes out and, like Austin thinks, it's looks kind of the same, feels kind of the same, the Saints keep rolling, then I think we'll have a tight race. But on the flip side, if Jameis Winston flounders, if he does bring some of his turnovers, which he's been known for, to New Orleans, then the Buccaneers might have an easier path to taking the division. So I'm interested to see where that game goes.
Yeah, I think it's a big game for the Saints. Just we'll see what the Saints look like with Jameis Winston starting and kind of running the offense the whole game too.
Yeah, it'll be good because the Falcons are talented, but they're not playing for anything really, so it'll be a good a litmus test for that, for the Saints. The game I'm going to go with is Titans Ravens, and I mean, right now they're both second in their division, and the AFC is so competitive right now. The Ravens need to exercise their demons, and you beat the Titans, who they lost to last year in the divisional round. And if the Titans fall back, that's 4 games in a row they'd have lost, and that'd just be a terrible downward spiral that I don't know if they could recover from, because they got to keep up with the Colts, who are playing pretty darn well right now. It's just trying to stay afloat in the AFC, the crazy competitive AFC right now. And I think that'll be a pivotal game. If the Ravens can beat the Titan, then I feel like that'll give them the confidence to keep rolling. Because right now everyone's kind of down on Lamar. And that'll put them right back on track. And then, the Titans need to win just because, they've lost 3. And they just, this is the best Titans team they've had in a long time, and they just want to prove that they can stay competitive. There's just lots of teams in the AFC right now that want to take their spots in the playoff picture.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think one thing is Ryan Tannehill and Lamar Jackson have both kind of been on a decline the last few games as far as their performance. But I would assume one of them is going to kind of turn things around in this game. I mean, someone has to win it. And I think both defenses are good enough to overcome that. You're going to have to perform pretty well. So I think that'll be a good I like the matchup between the quarterbacks too. Both have something to prove. Both need to bounce back. It's a good matchup for them.
Yeah. I like all of our picks. I'm just going to throw out games as well to look for, but I'm not going to discuss them. Obviously, Thursday night, Cardinals, Seahawks. Same sort of matchup, Packers, Colts. That's huge for the Colts, just like the Titans game is. Chiefs, Raiders, after the Raiders got the better of the Chiefs earlier in the season. That'll be interesting. So, yeah, lots of good games this week. I think these teams, it's going to really, we're getting into that last stretch where the playoff picture is coming more into focus. And I think this week will really kind of sort a lot of these teams out in a way.
Mm-hmm. One thing that's interesting is we haven't had too many COVID issues in the last couple weeks. Even though it's getting worse in the nation in general, maybe teams are just getting more strict, but I'm hoping we can kind of not have any big reschedules because, with so little season left, the flexibility for that really decreases. So hopefully it goes well.
The reaction from the league seems to be a little bit less panic, more just deliberate action. There's been lots of cases popping up in the league lately. I know the Browns just had some confirmed cases, and I think almost every week there has been, but there hasn't been as many worries about games being canceled. The players are just quarantined, and that's just kind of how it's been. So hopefully they just keep up with that, and football can continue.
I agree.
Yeah. What would really suck is if like a team were to fall apart like in the last rounds of the playoffs, like if like a whole team, like half the team got it or something, that would really delegitimize any championships that would be won. But I don't see that happening. They're doing like you said, they're doing a really good job of tamping down on it and everything. But that's good news.
I guess you got to look at it in a way of just like players have to, stay healthy, stay conditioned, and weather the season in the same way. They got to, I guess, be disciplined in whatever preventative measures you can take to not catch the virus. So hopefully they take it seriously.
I would assume most players are just, this far into the season, pretty committed to the season. And finishing it well, so they'll probably be a little bit more personally accountable to following all the guidelines they have in preventing themselves from getting it.
Yeah.
All right, we got to finish things off with a quick pop quiz. Austin, what was the jersey number for Ray Lewis?
52.
That one's pretty easy. Deion Sanders.
21.
All right. That's good. Reggie White.
Oh, geez. I want to say 90. Am I...
92.
Dang it. Sorry.
Brett Favre.
4. You don't have to do old players. If they've been in the league for at least 4 years, I could probably guess them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to think of new players.
Like just modern day players.
I don't know. Like, do you mean like obviously everyone knows like the big players? Are you talking? I can give you like anyone.
No, you can't give me anyone, for sure.
Like Christian McCaffrey.
22.
Okay. What if I gave you like Shaquille Griffin?
Oh, geez. I might be getting confused with a different person, but I want to say...
Not to be confused with his brother Shaquem Griffin.
I want to say it ends with a 7, but I might be wrong on that. It's either 37 or 47 or something like that.
It is... Wait,
I'm probably completely wrong. I'm probably completely wrong.
It's 26.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to make sure. Didn't want to embarrass myself as a Seahawks fan. Okay.
The gift is there.
I couldn't name half those off.
No, way less than half.
Especially if they're not in the league right now. Chances are I don't know their number.
I could tell you all of Randy Moss's numbers. He was 84 on the Vikings, and then he was 81 on the Patriots, and then he was number 18 on the Raiders for a year. And I want to say that's what Antonio Brown's doing right now, except he wasn't 18. I think he's 81 right now on the Bucks, and he was 84 on the Steelers.
Dude, there's some portion of Austin's mind that is being occupied with storing this. And not to say I'm not impressed, but like, what is it? What could it be doing rather?
Like, what is that section of the brain supposed to store?
It's supposed to be doing, but instead it's like, I'm gonna memorize player jerseys. Actually, I'm not gonna do that other thing.
You know, to think if that part of my brain was doing something, almost anything different, maybe I'd be a millionaire.
Yes, this is the part of the brain for self-restraint or for.
Is this maybe I could transfer this to like being able to count cards or something?
That's what it feels like, man. Like, oh, this number, dude. Yeah, well, we're gonna. All right, guys. Next episode, we'll have a plan to get rich quick with Austin's superpower.
Yes. That's actually gonna be the whole theme. So, forget football next week. We're just getting rich quick with Austin Francis.
I don't think it's that impressive, but yeah, I
think it is.
Big star players I can get, and then like some obscure, but yeah, like, and then obviously teams that I watch more, I would know better than other teams. But
that's what's impressive to me. I think the only difference is that you've seen the players. Like, I think just because you've seen the Cowboys more often, you know all their numbers. Whereas for me, I can watch the Broncos every week. It doesn't matter. I can watch a team every week. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to know it. So it's definitely, don't undersell your gift. It's there for sure.
Austin is definitely the most gifted of us all.
I didn't wear it close to true, but
all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like always, please subscribe. We're on YouTube, and it's really fun to see our godlike faces every week. You should check it out. Of course, we're on Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there. Subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications. Give us feedback. We love comments. And like always, have a great week.
Later.